jumping around. They rush 4. Plenty of time for John now. Squeezes, steps up in the pocket. LA can run. He's got the 10. Head first. He falls off the 5-yard line.
Manning out of the gun. Manning lets it fly. It's caught by Thomas. There's the record for Peyton Manning.
Rushing 4, ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground and still on the ground. Picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line.
Here we go. First snap of the overtime. The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year. They won them all. Got him at the 40. It's Thomas at the 50. Stiff arm got him free to the 30. To the 20. Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on the New England. They win it on the first.
And welcome to the show, everybody. I am Mundungus Creevy, joined today by my co-host Glenn Hauser, Mr. Boggins, and C. Richie. How's everybody doing today?
Hi, Mom.
Alrighty then. We are Head Broncos-based podcast, bringing you all sorts of Broncos-related stuff. You are currently listening to the MHRT Podcast, which airs every Tuesday at 7654 on YouTube, Facebook,
If
Twitter.
that's what you sound like normally, what are you going to sound like when you're actually having a stroke?
That's a good question. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know what to do with that. Also, make sure you tune into our other podcast, starting with Broncos Breakdown with Bronco Bill every Wednesday at 7654, and the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast that airs every Thursday at 7654. And I'm very excited because the very first episode of Rough Draft is coming out on Friday. And that's where he's going to break down potential draft picks and free agents that the Broncos might be interested in this offseason. So make sure you are checking that out. Let's see what we got going on in here. Avatar says, "What's up, Broncos country?" Broncos Breakdown, Bronco Bill right there. Let's see here. Biggie Bronco. I would rather talk about what the coaching staff talked about today than if Aaron Rodgers is going to stay in Green Bay, because that's where he's going to stay. We're going to talk about all of it. Every single little bit of it. EJ says, "What's up, Broncos country?" Dave Glassman. Albert Knoppers. It has been a while.
Albert.
Where you been? Where you been at, foo?
Hey, Albert.
Seattle boy.
All right, so let's kind of kick this off with kind of what's going on in the NFL right now. So there is potentially is it basically a player boycott of the combine? Potentially?
Not anymore.
Might happen.
Bubble?
Because I know that they lifted restrictions on restricted areas, but all the other restrictions are still there. So are we still talking a potential boycott of the combine and just save it for the pro day?
I mean, I'll go for it.
Go ahead, Boggins.
I was going to say they've been trying to do it for a while, but it's just never amounts to anything. I don't think it's actually going to happen. These kids, they have too much at stake. They're not going to. There's too many players that need this. So no. I say no.
I love how Boggins asks when you have a stroke rather than if. Thanks. Wow. All right then.
I shall prophesy.
We also got is it the Usfl? Is that the new league that's getting started?
Yeah.
Yep.
Their draft is today.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna, but it's not
Another
live
one.
stream. They're gonna be tweeting them out.
Another one.
So I'm expecting, Paxton Lynch is a free agent now, so he can go play at the USFL.
I was thinking about this.
Johnny Manziel's out there.
Is there a bigger draft bust in Denver Broncos history than Paxton Lynch?
I mean, the only one I could think of
Maurice
possibly
Clarett.
would be Ted Gregory, but even Ted Gregory wasn't a fourth on the depth chart in the Canadian Football League. No disrespect, Rich.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not a disrespect at all. I mean, we even recognize that he was garbage up here.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I
true.
mean, let's
That's
give
true.
credit where credit's due.
And Canadians are really nice. So the fact that they're actually insulting someone.
Yeah.
Well, most
Canadians.
Yeah.
Most Canadians. That's true.
Most Canadians.
The Michigan
Then
Panthers
there's-
pick Shape Patterson, the quarterback from University of Michigan.
Yeah.
As
Do
the
you guys have a team that you're going to be cheering for, or like even know who the teams are?
I need to
Denver
look
Colts.
into it. I haven't paid attention as much as
Because I was
should.
going to go with the Michigan Panthers.
Well, what,
I don't know why. I just am.
I think what's cool about the USFL is that they actually went back to the same team names as they had in the original USFL, which was around before any of you guys were born, I think. But
Is there a
Glenn,
Snap
you're
mobile?
aging yourself.
I figured I would do it before someone else did.
It's okay. Bill's in the room too, so you're
That's true.
still.
That's true. That's true.
If you start every story out with "in my day," it's a bad.
in my day.
Did you also there's the XFL news that they're going to be like a more of a developmental league, which is like what you want. Like we've been like pushing for, and now I kind of see why, like when The Rock got involved, I'm like, you're gonna just lose a ton of money. But if they actually commit to a developmental league for the NFL, that's when things get very interesting.
Well, but is it going to be a developmental league like player development, or is it going to be more of like a testing new grass, new turf, new helmets, new pads, like testing that kind of stuff and seeing if it works, and then the NFL takes that?
I mean,
because then that just makes you kind of crash dummies, doesn't it? Like,
no, I mean it's kind of a little bit of both. I think they were, more experimental and that kind of stuff, which is good. The fan rules were kind of weird, but I think it gives opportunity for a kind of a crash.
Are they going to have regular size
league, which is nice?
Are they going to go to regular size field goals, or is it still going to be like the little bitty ones?
Regular size
with the nets on the sides.
Yeah, I don't care about that. So I don't. But I'm excited for like a developmental league that maybe NFL teams can really like commit to, like an actual minor league of the NFL would be really cool to have.
Well, now I heard it was either the USFL or the XFL as well are talking to the Canadian Football League.
The XFL used to, and then that got scrapped.
So maybe it's the USFL because one of them is going to be working with the CFL.
Yeah,
as the same thing that the NFL and XFL are doing.
Yeah, when the Canadians said that they were going to put maple syrup in the Gatorade bucket, pox paper off.
Well, it makes for a very, very interesting celebratory.
I would say, could you imagine how long that dump would be? Wait, hold on.
The one thing that I actually would be really interested to see in either the XFL as a trial, and potentially even make its way into the NFL, is the CFL's concept of what they refer to as the Rouge, which is where you have to try and run it out of the end zone on special teams, and that the whole touchback concept isn't allowed. So if you get tackled in your own end zone, it actually counts for 1 point for the team that tackles you there. It's almost like the equivalent of like a special team safety. I would love to see something like that implemented in both the NFL and even maybe as a trial in the XFL to see if it makes sense.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
I still want it. But...
yeah, there's no way.
Albert says, I heard the Paxton Lynch is even done in the CFL. Yep. He was 4-string and got dropped. Did he get cut today?
Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday, I think.
Oh,
we sent him out and about in his own way.
To be fair, like I think the kid just was never like got it up here. Like he had some talent. Like he was the third best QB projected in that draft, and it just never clicked. There was a lot of kind of off the field stuff where apparently he was just playing video games all the time. Didn't really take anything serious, having a good time.
So Paxton Lynch was kind of like Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah,
not talent wise, but like work ethic wise.
Yeah. Probably took talent wise too. Paxton was probably faster than Jamarcus Russell.
Wasn't it Jamarcus that they had the story where they gave him the blank iPad to study the plays and over the weekend, and he never turned it on, so he never realized that they were testing to see if he even was looking. So
Wow.
I think that was him.
Do they have iPads?
No, that would have had to have been Paxton.
No,
Paxton, I don't think was around when the iPads were there.
Paxton tried, but not really, but couldn't.
Remember when he was crying on the sideline?
He also had like the biggest wind up for a throw I've ever seen. Like that dude. It like you look at him and you're like, he's 6'8", and then he really looks 6'8" when he tries to throw the ball. It's like a pitcher. It's really funny to watch.
Jerry Jones wanted him, so we had to trade up to get him.
Jerry Jones can have him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's available now. Go get him, Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry had to settle for Dak in the 4th.
I know.
Dak in the 4th. So there's not even that much to talk about.
What?
I'm just kidding. I mean, there's really not. But
I
did see that there was a story out grading all the rookies, the rookie classes for each team, and the Broncos rookie class graded out at an A-. Agree, disagree? Who didn't meet standards, and are we going to have hopefully the same type of draft this year?
I'd want to see the other ones on there and look like kind of compare. But I mean, I'm okay with in the area of an A-. I think. I mean, way more of the players contributed than.
You mean compared to the AFC West?
No, just compared to I would like to see it. Yeah, all the other teams like what they graded them and say, oh, that's BS. That's like that makes sense or whatever.
Okay, so here, let me see if I can.
But like without seeing anything, A- just sounds dandy to me. I mean, it's not like every single player that we drafted. I mean, it kind of like if it's an A-, if there's any other team with an A, that team better have every single drafted player like played that year.
Yeah. All right, let's try this.
I think
that's you see
fair.
that? All right, so the Chiefs got an A. Broncos A-.
Oh, this is all
Raiders
AFC
with a
West.
Well, there I can change it. There's more. They did each.
Oh yeah,
they broke down in each.
Okay. The Raiders,
got a B+,
plus,
which doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
I mean they haven't been bad, but like
Leatherwood,
leather, yeah.
And then Chargers with a B.
Dude, I don't know how the Chargers aren't higher. I guess they're more top heavy. Heavy.
You want to see a specific team?
Well, can you do it by grade?
I can just do it by how they got the divisions up here. So the Bengals A-, B+ for the Browns, B for the Ravens, and a B for the Steelers.
I didn't look more into that Marquise Brown thing. That was not true, right? The whole he's quitting and going to be a professional gamer.
I haven't seen anything.
I hope so.
Anybody in the chat? Did you see that? Let
Jamar Chase won Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Whoa,
that's really loud.
Wow,
that was really loud.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree with this mainly. A- is fine. Sounds good to me. Chiefs, like everybody's going real top heavy with the
grades.
Oh my gosh. Chiefs center. I forget his Chiefs center name. Creed Humphrey. Thank you. Everyone's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, he played very well, but I think like that has carried a lot of weight for their draft class.
Right.
Nick Bolton has been pretty good, pretty solid, but I think that we definitely have utilized all of our draft picks more than the Chiefs.
Well, if you look at our 2021 draft, Pat Surtain, Javonte Williams, Quinn Miners, Baron Browning, Caden Stearns.
Mm-hmm.
Like 1 through 5. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mm-hmm. Each and every one of them had moments.
At a certain point.
They started at one point. Baron Browning is looking like he's a legit starting linebacker and can really start blossoming if he can kind of grow. And I mean, really, out of all of those, I mean, you hate to say like the worst of them, but really the worst of them is Caden Stearns, and I think he's still a starting safety. So I mean, I think that's a pretty tough draft class to start grading below the Chiefs, because to your point, Boggins, and I agree, they have to be grading Humphrey there with such a weighted, scale over that. I think that the quantity and quality that we got in this draft, I think outclasses the Chiefs, in my opinion.
And Jonathan Cooper contributed with a couple sacks.
I don't even have him on my list, but he even as a seventh rounder on our team, he's another guy that you could argue is come from the seventh round and is likely turning into at minimum a rotational starter.
Even Kerry Vincent Jr. contributed he brought back a better draft pick than we spent on him, even though he didn't play.
Agreed.
Lamar Johnson was probably the biggest bust.
He needs to play.
Right.
Well, he has to also play, and he was a fifth rounder. Like, it's not like he was an early round draft pick. So,
well, I'm talking about in grading.
He was. I know he was my safety, my number one safety one coming out of college. So I hope he actually stays healthy enough to play.
Do you guys remember when I kept telling you for months on end, Javonte Williams, we got to get this guy? I mean,
stop. Oh, terrible. All right. So it looks like Albright updated everybody on the USFL draft. Shea Patterson, what you guys said. Jordan Ta'amu. Is that right? Pick number 2. Brian Scott, pick number 3, and Ben Holmes, pick number 4.
That's a steal at 4. No, I don't know.
I don't know if you guys know who that is. I don't know who anybody would.
Who are they drafting? What are they drafting? Who are they drafting? I honestly have I have not looked into this at all.
Neither have I. I know that there's only 8 teams. You got Panthers, Bandits, Stars, Generals, Gamblers, Stallions, Maulers, and Breakers.
And they're drafting from what?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Because Shea Patterson was a quarterback from Michigan, right?
Right.
But not this last year, was he?
Not this year, no.
Right. Undrafted, maybe?
So they must be drafting from the guys that were not drafted or undrafted by the NFL.
Yeah, they're not in the NFL. That makes sense.
Yeah, so they must be drafting from people that are not in the NFL or not under contract by the NFL.
Is Antonio Brown going to be in there? Or that'd be fun.
Well, he's too busy putting his group together to buy the Broncos.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. Not even a chance.
Wow, would that be the worst? He would be like the biggest, like you could just see him have like a Game of Thrones style chair in his office, and he just like has a harem of harem grapes and stuff, and he's like, "Come in." What'd you say to me? What'd you say to me? You're traded. You're traded.
In his office.
I'm the janitor.
Antonio, are you gonna change the jerseys? Jerseys? We're not wearing jerseys.
Not wearing jerseys.
Are you kidding me?
He'd have Yeezys out there too.
He'd have the throne set up in the back end of the stadium at the top end, so he could look over his subjects.
He'd have it in the cryogenic machine.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like the Game of Thrones throne. It'd be like a throne made of helmets, and he'd be like, "It's that helmet that I want. That's the one I like to wear right there."
How much did this throne cost? I don't know. I didn't pay the guy yet.
Biggie Bronco says that Byron Leftwich had a big windup, so that was kind of hard to believe. I'm assuming Byron instead of Brian. Let's see. Steve Starkovich, how would you grade preseason free agency now? Bridge, Fuller, Darby.
Well, that's not fair.
Hold on. Does he mean like
how would you?
How do we grade free agency from last year?
Yeah,
it's looking like he's saying look back at what we did and
preseason last year. I love.
I mean, Darby's the best.
Yeah, I love the Darby signing. I definitely would pick Bridgewater over Fuller.
Yeah.
Just for the tutoring alone from Locke, Bridgewater would go over Fuller.
You can always tell who's not playing well when they get targeted a lot. Like Kenny Young, like wasn't playing well, got targeted a lot. When a team schemes around you, there's a problem.
Okay, so here's a question, and I saw this.
No, they were
going around
scheming towards him.
I saw this going around on Twitter when they had like pick your fantasy defensive lineup. Darrelle Revis, do you think that he warrants Hall of Fame?
Oh gosh, okay. I thought you were gonna say like he's gonna come back or something.
No. Do you think that Darrelle Revis warrants Hall of Fame? Because he doesn't have the numbers, but he doesn't have the numbers because they didn't throw to him.
He might get out of popularity, but like it wasn't even a long time thing. Like it was like
4 years, 5 years.
Yeah. So I don't think so.
But also he had this reputation as just being almost like a mercenary. He would just travel the dollars. Didn't really matter. Or follow the dollars rather. It's I don't know if that perception hurts him at all, but when I think of guys from that era, he's not up at the top of the list for me. But
I don't know, because you think of shutdown corners.
He was kind of like from the Panthers, Justin Norman. It's kind of like a Justin Norman situation. Josh Norman, where he was just like really big.
His nickname is Justin.
For really big for a short time, and then just kind of fell off. I don't know if it's because he went to different schemes or what, but he just like
it's like Richard Sherman too.
He became a meme with the stiff arm, if you remember. But
Well, I think Richard Sherman has a better chance just because one of the ring, two, he was there longer, and was pretty dominant for.
I don't see Sherman getting in either.
Mundungus, I actually think that's a really interesting question. Is because then you start getting into the. Well, no, but I think it's great, and I think that while I agree in some respects, while I agree with some of the other answers to a certain extent, I think that starts getting into even the Terrell Davis kind of question as well, right? Which is, to what length of time do you have to be elite at your position in order to be considered for the Hall of Fame? And really, at the end of the day, what is that criteria? In truth, like what is that actual criteria, as whether it be fans or even just from the Hall of Fame perspective? And I do think that there is some validity to, like, for example, Chris Harris Jr., we can use him as an example as well. There is a period of time when he was on our team where there was games where he was not targeted almost at all. And that was because the opposing team said, no, thank you. Now, does that make him a bad corner? No, that means that they're basically scheming around him, as in away from him, as opposed to scheming towards him like they are, for example, like you said, Buggins, earlier about, say, Kenny Young or some of the other players that are, the targets of an opponents and stuff. So I think there's a fair comment to be made that he might be one of those guys that you can't mention the era without, but then you have to then start saying, how long did he do it for? And did that meet that criteria in terms of being that guy?
I don't think that criteria is really going to be like that much of an effect, because like that, then you'd be talking about a lot of different cornerbacks. Cause like, I mean, when you have a really good cornerback on the opposing team, you're not going to target that player as much. No. So I think they won't really take that into account. But like, I mean, based on the Hall of Fame is kind of like the Pro Bowl. Like you kind of guess who's going to get in, but then sometimes you're just like, how are they not like DeMarcus Ware? Like, how in the world was he not a first round Hall of Famer?
Right?
First ballot Hall of Famer? Yeah, I'd like to know that too.
It's just
how did who's the coach that got in?
Vermeil.
How did Vermeil get in there before Shanahan?
Because he took a grocery store quarterback and won the Super Bowl. That's why. That's not
okay.
Because they just made a movie and it had his character in it.
That's what it was.
So have you seen the trend of avoiding throwing to cornerbacks change a little bit? I mean, it seems like Diggs in Dallas was putting up some major numbers, and people were still throwing at him this year.
Well, I mean, that's because Diggs was not great outside of his interceptions. Like that's what really pushed him up. Like his numbers were not good. Okay. I think he was like last in the league for yards allowed.
Yes.
But like, I mean, everybody looks like, oh my God, interceptions. So like, I would much rather have like when people were mad at Richard Sherman because he only stayed on one side of that. They're remember when Revis had that beef with him and it's like, you don't travel with the best player. I do.
Right. Right.
Like a Patrick Peterson situation. It's like, who cares? Like he's shutting down a whole side of the field. Like who cares?
So do you know how I know it's the off season? Because we are here again. Do you guys think Locke could pass for 4,000 yards under Hackett and Outen?
I don't know. Maybe. Who cares? No,
now, I will say this. I do believe, and obviously we'll talk about the Aaron Rodgers thing, but I do believe that if we don't bring in or make a big trade for a quarterback, there is a very good chance that Drew Lock is the starting quarterback.
That's my preference.
So you stop.
I'm
Bad.
I'm with
bad.
Him. Like I don't want to reach in the draft. I don't care about any of the other free agency quarterbacks. They're not good. Like there's no like higher tier outside of like Russ or Cousins is gonna stay there. And I don't want to pay for that. Definitely don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. Definitely don't want to pay that. So who are you looking at? Jameis is probably going to stay in at the Saints. I wouldn't mind Jameis, but I think he's going to stay there. Who else? Marcus Mariota, Mitchell Trubisky. It's Carson Wentz, whatever. It's like at that point.
Is he a free agent though, or is he a trade?
No, they're going to dump him.
They think he's going to be released, yeah. And then he'll get his choice. Man, I don't want that though. Like at that point, I just like. You might as well just go with the quarterback that has chemistry with the receivers. Like just go for that and just go for broke.
I think when you're looking at Drew Lock, you kind of have to go in the middle. So like last year we saw a very conservative Lock. He was very concerned about turning the ball over and was concentrating on that. The year before that, he was throwing the ball wherever he wanted. He didn't care. It was a YOLO ball situation. Lots of turnovers, but lots of yards. I think it's going to end up being where he's in the middle. Like, he's still going to make stupid throws and stupid decisions, and then he's going to – I don't even know how to explain it. Like,
Mike's talking himself out of a wedding invitation.
I really am. Honestly, you look at it, and it's like right now I believe that Drew Lock can be a very good backup and a mediocre to average starting quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Could he look better under Hackett regime? Sure. Like it's very possible. Like if Hackett actually like utilizes his offensive weapons, because we have a lot of them. Like remember when we were like talking about Drew Lock coming in the not last year before last or whatever, with the weapons that he had, and we were like, man, he doesn't really have an excuse.
Yeah.
He had Shermer. So like I think Hackett will at least utilize all of the weapons that were given to Drew Lock to make him prosper. To maybe look at we have a ton of yak players. Like just give them the ball, watch them do things, and then Drew Lock's gonna look like a hero. Just like a 2-yard dump.
But isn't that outside zone going to help with some of that kind of stuff, and then that kind of general style of offense? We saw Drew Lock in his rookie year with probably the worst mentor as a veteran quarterback on the roster in Joe Flacco, and we saw that Lock, even was struggling, still ended up 4-1 at the end of the season. Now, sure, not all of those were like because of him or anything, and I appreciate that. But we at least saw him start to look more and more comfortable as that season went on in some of the offensive schemes and things like that. And then we decided to yank that scheme out from under him and put in Shermer, which was probably one of the worst decisions we made in terms of a growth for someone like that, because you already saw him starting to mature into that scheme. So you at least want to show continuity in that respect, and we didn't do that for him. So I'd like to see us keep that continuity. And if we don't get, obviously, the big ones, that your Russell Wilsons or your Aaron Rodgers or someone of that caliber that might come up, then I would much rather not spend massive money on a quarterback and bring in better players on our roster, even on the D line and on the O line and that kind of stuff, to help mentor young draft picks.
I would sell hard too. I would trade back, and just build up the picks for your 2023 draft, and then get your quarterback.
So Rich, like the whole Scangarella thing, we've come to find out after the fact that he wasn't a good offensive coordinator. It's just there's a lot of revisionist history because Locke did well under him. But the issue behind the scenes was that they said they couldn't develop a quarterback and an offensive coordinator at the same time. And that's why they brought Shermer in. I mean, Shermer turns out to be a disaster. And that kind of leads me into my next comment. And that one of the things that I like hearing about from Hackett and also his coaching staff is that they multiple times have mentioned that they developed the scheme around the players and not the other way around. And Shermer was adamant about not budging to play to the players' strengths. And thus Jerry Jeudy, no touchdowns. Thus Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton making no catches after their re-ups. It just the guy was a disaster. And I think any quarterback that would have been young would not have done well under Shermer, and that's why he's gone.
That's one thing though that I wasn't a big fan of the press conference, or at least gave me a little bit of pause on Evero with the comments about utilizing your players to their strengths when it comes to defense. When it comes to defense, I'm definitely more of a scheme guy than like when it comes to offense. That makes a lot more sense,
right? Because
there's so many different variables. But with defense, unless you have a player like Micah Parsons, where you're like, I'm going to utilize this in the best, like because they're such a freak. I would, you know what I mean? Yeah, that I could see. We don't necessarily have one of those right now. Besides Surtain, but like I love him so much on the outside. Just stay there. Just like lock that down. That's the only thing I didn't like. I thought he was kind of being very like giving all the good answers. That kind of made me a little nervous. And like what the comment about sending pass rush, and he's like, well, if 4 can't get home, then I'm going to send 5. If 5 can't get home, then I'm going to get 6. I'm like, that sounds like not good coaching. What are you talking about? That sounds
if 6
terrible.
Can't get there, bring 11.
Yeah, just send him off. I didn't like that at all. So.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Yeah, I just hope he produces more. I get where he's at right now. Like he's just trying to say all the right things, trying to, whatever. But I'm interested how he's going to utilize. That's the one thing. Like as much as Wade Phillips and Fangio were like 3-4 ish, they weren't the same. They weren't the same. So it's going to be very interesting to see how if it's just going to be a mess or if it's going to be actually taking the best of both worlds and making it into something really cool.
That's pretty funny because that's actually the exact opposite of what you saw from Shermer, right? Shermer was like, this is my scheme, now run it. And then Evero's like, no. If that doesn't work, we'll do this. And if that doesn't work, we'll do this. And you're just like, whoa, stop. Like just slow your roll. Yeah. But Glenn, you made a comment earlier, and I just wanted to kind of speak to it a little bit. I have one concern with the current coaching staff, and it's and I don't want to kind of speak out of both sides of my mouth, but at the same time, I feel that I kind of need to. And when I say this is, I am concerned that they're young, and I am concerned that none of them have really done the roles that they're doing before. And that's almost across the board, right? None of these guys have really been in the current positions that they're in ever. Now, I respect and understand that as part of the counter to that, they have brought in veteran coaches or coaches that have done those things before. So I respect that as a recognition of kind of one's faults or wanting that mentorship. But I do think that it's a fair comment to make that when you have a comment made like Evero said, like if 5 doesn't work, I'll throw 6 at it. Like those are the types of comments that you never really heard from your Wade Phillips or your Vic Fangios on the defensive side. And some of the more gifted offensive minds, they don't make comments like that. They have a little bit more confidence because they kind of know better, and they have a very, very fixed kind of general scheme and kind of framework that they're working within when they put together the game plans. So that is a concern that I do have, and I really hope I'm wrong, and I really hope that all of these coaches prove me wrong. But nonetheless, that is a concern I have.
Well, and it does seem like Denver is working on building up the DBs as far as safety and corners go. So, I mean, I can see, if 4 doesn't make it, send 5. If 5 doesn't make it, send 6, and then just kind of leave the DBs on their own. If you've got a strong DB room, I can at least see that, because then your pass rush is going to hopefully give the quarterback less than 2 seconds to throw that ball, and then good luck being accurate with it. So I can see it, but at the same time, it's like, okay, slow down. Like, don't send everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're not going to have blitz packages. Like they'll have blitz packages, but like the way he said it was just kind of like, no. Like that's not that's not. And like statistically, Patrick Mahomes is better against us when we blitz him. And I mean, I understand that we haven't really had like the greatest pass rush we didn't have the greatest pass rush this last year, but that's still concerning. Like he obviously knows when it's coming, and he obviously can dump it to one of his freak speedsters. So
Mike,
that's a problem.
Can you put Big E's comment back up there, please?
He's so mean.
That one?
So indignant. That was his Shermer impersonation. Another thing to Big E's point, one of the other thing that they said was that they'll even get, as the players get more accustomed to what's going on, they're going to, they were talking about how smart these players are, that they're going to actually be involved in or be welcome to chime in on game plan too. So it's not only the fact that they're going to be talking to the other coaches and it's not just going to be the coordinators pulling the strings. They keep talking about collaboration, and quite honestly, I like it. After the last few years, I mean, I'm up for total. I'm up for something new. I mean, it truly can't hurt.
I was going to say that was one of the things that we kept hearing about last year was, you'd have players like throwing up a play like, this isn't working, we got to do this, and Sherman would be like, no.
Players play, yeah.
Players play, coaches coach. You go do what you're supposed to do. No. I did want to ask you guys about the press conferences. I did not watch much of the press conference. I normally don't, because once you get past like Hackett and the big coordinators, it's coach talk, and I don't care, because I'm not going to get anything from it. Did you guys get anything from the press conferences that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I just love Nathaniel Hackett.
Mm-hmm.
I love how he went through every single new coach, and like that was in the room. He went through name by name, and like only one time did he look down at his notes. Like he knew every single one of them, had like a backstory about every single one of them. That was really cool to see. Evero talked about Nathaniel Hackett as being like almost like a brother, having a brotherly relationship with him, and how much he meant to him. And not only, Denver getting a good, or not only him being a good person, but Denver also getting a very, very good coach. So that was cool to see. As far as the all the coordinators, they kind of said what you'd expect them to say. There wasn't anything really groundbreaking. I really love Stooks though. Stooks is good, because if they don't perform on the field, he can just go out on the field and just like lay everyone out. I could just he'd be like, listen, you guys, this is how it's really done. And he just has like a bunch of them in like chokeholds while he's running on the field with them just to tackle other players.
It's like that. It's like that opposing coach on what's that? The football TV show in Texas.
Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, Friday Night Lights. That opposing coach is, this is how you tackle, and then hits Riggins.
I was going to say it was going to be like Terry Tate in The Office, except the NFL.
Yep. He definitely reminds me.
Yeah, he's going to be like, this is how you tackle. Bam.
Like you should just say spoiler alert next time you say stuff like that.
I think so far, Stooks is far and away better than McMahon, and he hasn't even called a play yet. Like I'm just so excited. The way he laughed about the Aaron Rodgers comment, like the camera hadn't panned to Alton yet, and they asked about, or they said that Aaron didn't make his decision yet, and blah blah blah. And the camera was still on Stooks, and Stooks just started busting out laughing, and then they panned slowly to Alton to get his expression on it. But I really like the coaching staff. Alton, I could whatever. Like I mean, especially with he's not calling the plays, so it's Nathaniel's.
Alton is like Donatel.
But you know what?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm with Boggins. I liked hearing some of the stories and some of their comments about Hackett personally. One of the things that Outen was talking about was how organized he is. He says he's the most organized person he's ever seen. And just the guy's taken it to a whole new level. And he's tried to draw on that himself. And he was talking about how the wives are even like grateful to Hackett because now the husbands are more organized than ever. I like it. I'm excited. And Stooks did not want to say anything negative about the last year's team, and then he proceeded to mention that we were last in 2 categories.
So good. So good. One takeaway from not Rando, but Clint Kubiak, show some sort of expression at some point in your life. Like, it panned back to that dude, and he was just like I get he seems like a nice guy. I just don't think he has a personality.
His dad didn't have much of one either, though.
Please come on the show. Sorry, I'm sorry. Like, we still want you on the show. Prove me wrong. Hey, prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
The only concern I have with these coaches is that they're all seem to be fairly close friends, not just coaches. And that was, in fact, the one thing that the media narrative, at least, was leading us to believe as to the reason why Shermer remained as the offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is a fair look. We'll wait and see what happens, and we'll kind of look to see in the future. But if there is, in fact, a side of the ball that is underperforming, you do start to then question how quickly are those adjustments going to be made? How quickly will changes be made if they're needed? And how aggressive will the changes be if and when they are needed as well? Like, so for example, I obviously wish no ill on anyone, and I hope that all of them work out really well. But if Evero does not work out well as a DC, and he tries to rush 9 people because he can't get a pass rush and then he gets slaughtered, then what?
He's not going to do that. I mean, come on.
You better hope them DBs can cover 4.
I also think this isn't like out of the ordinary. Like, I just think this is like the most in the spotlight the whole entire coaching staff has been in. Like, especially now that like YouTube is more of a thing. We're like introducing every single coach now, and now we're super involved in Twitter and all this stuff, and they're learning about these coaches and how they're close they are. But like, this has always been a thing. This has always been a thing where coaches hire coaches that they have been with, right? They've coached with these players, and so they want to bring what they know. They don't want to bring what they don't know. They don't want to be like, you know what? I heard you're pretty good. Come on over. Never met you before, but come on over and work under me. Yeah,
like knowing who the pullback coach is from McVay.
Exactly. So I think
actually what Boggins is describing is exactly how MHRT got put together by Mike.
Pretty much. I've never met any of you. Let's go do this thing.
Yeah, hey, you want to do it?
KB82 is back in the house. Got a question. Says, "What's up, fellas? Do you see the defense regressing this season? Also, do you see Chubb staying healthy? I mean, he almost has to stay healthy at this point.
Oh yeah.
Because if he's got another season of being out a bunch, he's not going to come back.
Do I see the defense regressing? Maybe a little bit. I just because Fangio is Fangio, and I don't know what this defense is going to look like. It really depends on if we get a quarterback. If we get an Aaron Rodgers, I think we're going to be spending less in free agency and obviously in higher rounds in the draft, which would definitely would make our defense a lot better, because I think we would get a lot of defensive players. So it just really depends. I think as far as like coaching though, it's kind of hard to say because we don't really know what he's going to bring. You just know that he's been under a lot of different versions of the same-ish scheme-ish, not really-ish. Yeah, you don't know. So, but I'm excited to see what he has to offer. He may be insane.
EJ says, hopefully Clint Kubiak is better developing a young quarterback than having a bubbly personality.
Yes, please.
There's only one way to go, and that's up.
Yeah.
right?
If none of you have watched the introductory the little tidbits, that they have with the new guys, just watch it. Just watch the Clint Kubiak one.
Oh, his is great.
It's just like,
what quarterbacks does Clint Kubiak work with?
What quarterback?
I know Cousins has he developed a young rookie quarterback or a young quarterback?
Well, was Kyle Sloter with Minnesota at the time during Kubiak's stint there, and he just was drafted a few minutes ago by the New Orleans Breakers.
Oh,
Sloter.
Oh,
dope,
man,
dope.
I like Sloter. He's a good quarterback. I like him. I might follow him. The Sloter House.
Pick a team. Oh, we could have had that nickname.
I know,
man. All right, so let's get to the big news of the day. Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee Show.
This is the big news.
Yeah.
When he said he was leaving the Packers to the Broncos, I was floored. I mean,
he said absolutely nothing as far as what his decision will be. What he did tell us is that for the last 12 days, he's been puking, pooping, and rubbing cream on his butthole. Is basically what that's what he talked about.
Mike, when have you had so much in common with a two-time MVP?
That's why I was so excited. Like, we do the same thing. But no, okay, so I did any of you guys watch Rodgers on the McAfee Show?
Yeah.
Based on what he was saying, I know that over the last, the two last speeches he made or posts or whatever, sounded like, I said it sounded like a retirement speech. I honestly think that we can take retirement off the table. I don't think that's going to happen.
Right.
It didn't sound like retirement was going to be a thing. What I took away from that was he's still having meetings with the front office, the coaching staff, things like that. So my takeaway is that he's meeting with them to find out, okay, how are you going to give me a better team this year than last year? Because if you're not, I'm going to go somewhere else. That's what I took. That's just my opinion.
I also took away from it that he's basically pressing them and saying, what are you doing with Devontae? Because he has mentioned that publicly on that show 3 or 4 times now. And he has come out point blank and said, what are you doing with Devontae? And it sounds like that is a pendulum swinger for him in terms of how they treat Devontae Adams. Because I actually think as much as how and what they want to do with him, I think that Rodgers is using Devontae Adams as a bit of a temperature gauge to see if the organization has changed. And yes, I agree, My High Prophet. We learned a fair amount about someone else's colon, and I'd rather forget it. But no, but I think this is really what Rodgers was talking about in the offseason, this past offseason, was that the Green Bay Packers have a long history of treating a lot of their players as disposable. And I think he is looking at what they do with Devontae Adams as a measuring stick of sorts to say, you literally have the best receiver in football, and I want to play with him. Now, what are you going to do?
Have you guys ever seen New Girl?
Yeah.
You ever seen the show? Okay. The first episode. Okay. Well, the first episode, the main character
Hold on.
Yeah. The first episode, the main character has an ex-boyfriend that still has all of her stuff in his house, and she doesn't want to confront him, right? Well, this guy is like the biggest hippie, calm dude ever, to the point where she comes back and she wants her stuff, but instead he ends up turning it around to where she drives him and his new girlfriend to the airport. You know what I mean? That's kind of like Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. We are the new girlfriend and Aaron Rodgers is just doesn't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just like, hey, don't be weird. Can you just take me and my new team to the airport? That's kind of what this feels like to me, where it's not. I mean, he cares. I don't think he's necessarily trolling, but he is in a state of yeah, whatever, man. Yeah, you should be cool. You should be cool. We should all be cool. I'm just gonna go over here to the Broncos. Of course, we're still friends. Let's have these meetings. Let's talk things out. I'm still going to go to the Broncos, but let's hang, we can hang out a little bit.
So what do you think the odds are that there was nobody sitting on the couch next to him when he was talking about Shailene?
When they were talking about, they heard that laughter, and he's like, "Oh, it's TV."
And it's probably still Shailene Woodley. Like, she's just probably there. They're just probably in like an open relationship now, because that just feels like the way
I'm not even so sure about that. I got the impression that he is saying a lot of the things, and they're letting this narrative go out there because her ties to Hollywood, and Hollywood is very politicized a little bit now when you see kind of some of their comments.
Now
and
he's going to the Rams.
So no, I actually think that what you saw there was a lot of narrative playing where they're probably still together, or at least somewhat together, and they just had to publicize it that they're not.
Rodgers is pulling the Johnny, hitting a laugh track off camera.
Yeah,
I got a girl here with me.
Yeah.
No, but it's like, and this is what I've been trying to figure out for a good 2 weeks. No matter what happens, the Packers are going to be in a dire situation, whether that's this offseason or whether that's 2-3 years from now, that like karma is going to hit them as far like financially.
Oh, yeah.
So is there any way right now going into this next season that the Packers can field a better team or as good of a team as they did this last year?
This next year?
No chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Because I mean, if like, let's say you go after Rodgers and Adams. Well, if you go after Rodgers and Adams, no chance you're signing a majority of those 20 free agents outside of those two that you have. But if you sign the 20 free agents, I mean, no way you can afford Rodgers or Adams.
The tricky part is like Rodgers, you could. So not only do you have to convince Aaron Rodgers to stay, but you have to convince him to take a contract extension that's post-dating his money for like 2 years down the road, essentially. And
under the cap.
Yeah. And then you're paying Devontae. You have to pay him the franchise tag. And then you have to try to bring back, I mean, Smith, I think Rasul Douglas too, all of their receivers, including their tight ends. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, at what cost? At what cost are we doing this? To where you're doing this and you're like making like worst case scenario, you put yourself in hard negative cap room for like, next year, the year after, your team is screwed.
Right. And well, and that's what I'm saying.
That's
like,
when you do a Sean Payton.
Right. Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you look at it, it's either bite the bullet now and move on from Rodgers and Adams just because you can't afford them, or do everything you can to bring them back. And then in 2-3 years, when Rodgers retires, you are screwed.
What if you still don't
royally screwed?
You still don't win the Super Bowl,
right? Well,
after you do that.
And that's what I was asking. Like, let's say that the Packers bring Rodgers back, can they field a team that's better than the one they had this last year?
What if Aaron Rodgers doesn't make a decision before the NFL draft and they draft another quarterback?
who would they do? Well,
another Jordan Love situation. They trade up for another quarterback.
Yeah, but this time
Jordan's 26.
Like, so he and Aaron are like sulking in the corner, and Aaron's sitting on the couch next to Manti Te'o's ex-girlfriend. It's just like, I mean, it's just terrible situation in Wisconsin for sure.
No, but wouldn't that just be hilarious if Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers were both sitting on the leather couch, both drinking tequila?
Jordan Love was the one that was giggling off the camera.
Well, and Jordan's mom and sister are like up at the top row of the stadium. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And obviously I'm looking at it with orange and blue colored glasses, but to me, it's like, if the Packers can pay you $50 million a year, that's fine, but they can't offer you a better roster. And I'm not even saying just the Broncos, but the Packers can't offer you a better roster than some of the other teams that are going to want you to come in. So I don't understand why you would want to go back to that, knowing that they can't give you as good of a roster as some of these other teams.
And why would Aaron Rodgers want to live in? I mean, I know he doesn't actually live in Wisconsin, but why would you want to be in Wisconsin
when it's cold
when you could be in Colorado instead? You know what I mean? Like there's so much more in Colorado that is better.
Yeah, high altitude and weed. Like, go at it.
Yeah, just
We blocked our Chief Council sponsorship. Thanks a lot, Boggins.
yeah, no problem.
But guys, that actually speaks a lot to what Rodgers was saying this past offseason. He was calling out the general manager in Green Bay. And when you look at where they're at right now, from a cap situation and other things, that speaks a lot to a GM not doing their job properly. So, I mean, as much as people want to slam on Rodgers for speaking the way he did and doing the things that he did, look at the situation they're in right now. That is all on the GM.
I mean, he might also be Rodgers might also be just like laying this thing all out because like still pissed off from the Jordan Love situation. Like you thought you were going to bring this kid in and he was going to sit behind me or whatever and learn and be great for when I leave. And because you thought I was getting old and whatever. And then I get 2 NFL MVP. And I'm thinking about leaving, maybe not with.
And if I can,
you did this to yourself.
And if I can quote Charles Barkley, he's terrible. Just terrible. Just terrible. And Boggins, I know you've addressed this before, but EJ says, what do you guys think of Randy Gregory signing with the Broncos?
I mean, as long as he's not beating up people in the airports again.
Weed is legal in Colorado, so maybe Gregory comes to Colorado whether we sign him or not.
That's true.
You want a guy that has like a lot of self-control issues. I mean, levels.
I just maybe I don't know for cheap.
I mean, we already have
I think there's too much edge talent in this draft. You just go for that. You just swing there. Just bring back Weatherly for meh. Maybe Reed for meh. And draft in a Jabo or a Trayvon Walker.
So do you think Kenny is going to come back with Evero? Do you think that helps him or do you think that hurts him?
Kenny Young?
Well,
but okay. I guess to answer that question, do we have Griffith under contract?
Yeah. He's a restricted free agent, I think. So I think so.
Yeah,
he's gonna be back.
I think if you've got to pick between Kenny Young and Josie Jewell, you go Josie Jewell.
Yeah, I'm not on the Kenny Young fan list. I also think that they probably didn't really. I mean, they were technically on the same defense, but he didn't really deal with the linebackers, so I don't really think they probably have that crazy of a relationship. And it wasn't like he wasn't on the team very long. I feel like, right?
Like 2 or 3 years, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, maybe it was. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I just don't see him coming back. Like I don't. Oh, I was thinking Jonas Griffith's history with different. Okay, but yeah, I don't think Kenny Young's coming back. He was like I was saying earlier, was literally schemed against in against the Chiefs and who else did it really bad? I don't know, but he's terrible in coverage. So terrible. He's terrible in coverage. I would much rather just get there's plenty of options on free agency too.
There you go. Benapner Sibachnaha Vamdot today. Don't click on that.
Don't click on
that.
Go Russia.
Whoa.
Wow.
Negative.
Yeah.
Negative Ghost Rider.
The opinions of the guy in the top.
Well, the top of them Broncos.
Not all opinions are shared by the MHRT Network. Disclaimer.
Well, I'm hoping if I said that out
loud.
No.
No. Shh. He's Canadian. Forgive him. Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any topics other than Rich that they want to talk about?
Hold on. Rich's apology.
Mute.
Oh, that's a perfect picture. What did you make? Wow, that's fun.
I know. If I know Rich, he's going to disagree with what just happened.
Yeah. No, there's nothing else I want to talk about.
Okay, just a quick disclaimer: we don't do politics, so don't. Don't do it. And that's chat, us, everybody. Don't do it. No topics. We good to go?
Who's going to return kicks?
Who's going to return kicks when we cut Spencer?
Yo, you guys should look at a guy named Marcus Jones.
Wait, what are we doing with Boone? Are we keeping Boone?
Of course, he's under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because they had him back there twice near the end of the season. Do we roll Boone?
Marcus Jones.
Or do we not sign a running back and
about
go
Marcus
with
Jones,
Williams
Bud.
and Boone?
Marcus Jones.
Tell us about him.
Marcus Jones.
Plays for Houston, plays DB, and also returns kicks. He is really good.
What DB position?
You're all good, Prof. It's all good.
I believe he's outside. But he would be like he would be more of a depth cornerback, but at least he contributes outside of just kick returns. But he is a monster.
Is he free agent this year, or would he be traded?
No, draft. Sorry, draft.
Oh, he's
He plays Houston. Sorry, yeah, the Houston college team.
Gotcha.
The college of the team, the Houston.
The better team.
The better Houston team.
Bring Dante Hall back.
Would he be able to play in the slot at all?
Let him return kicks.
No, I can't think about Dante Hall. Like all I think about is like every one of his highlights is just like on repeat of him doing that one thing to the Broncos where he ran completely across one side of the field and then did the other thing where he came all the way back, like something out of Madden. That was like, I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah. Marcus Jones cheats at PlayStation.
What do you think? Where do you think he'd go in the draft? Do you have any idea?
He'd probably go later. He'd go later.
Glassman says Cordarrelle Patterson.
I think he'd be thought more of as a special teams ace than anything. So Cordell, please.
Cordell switched to running back, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because he was wide receiver, and then he was kick return, and now he's running back.
Marcus, can you imagine if the Raiders draft your guy, Marcus Jones, and make a hero out of Tom McMahon?
He would screw him up. It would mess him up. He'd say run out of bounds immediately.
Am I still muted?
And throw it while you're running out of bounds. Throw the ball backwards, back in bounds. That's what he would tell him. He's like, it'll totally work. It'll totally work. You'll be a hero.
No, Rich, you're not muted.
The power play is expired, Rich. You can talk.
That's okay. I can just start a trucker protest and we'll stop.
I was going to say you were only muted. All right, now you're getting muted again. Mother of God. All right.
I thought you were Toronto, not Ottawa.
All right. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, share. Turn on notifications so you can catch all of our content when it's posted. Make sure you tune in to our other podcasts on Thursdays and Wednesdays and whatnot. Yay, mile high five. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and leave before we get in trouble. Bye.